Yeah, the master.
I swear to God,
All right, folks, we are about to get started. Welcome. We're still settling, I can see, and that's all good. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. For how many is it the first time at Constellation? A few? All right, yes. Welcome. We're happy to have you here. We'll say this probably more than once, but we want you to come back. We do mean it. I am Jessica Johnson. This is Junae Hayworth-Kafka. Armin Tolentino. Hello, say hello. Where's Eli? Eli Hayworth-Kafka still upstairs. Snacking. All right. And we are the Constellation crew. We'd like to welcome you to the 36th Constellation. Yeah. Tonight, two of our readers are current McCormick Writing Center residents, Victoria Newton-Ford and Kate Wisel, and they're reading with Sara Jaffe. So we usually open these events with a broad acknowledgement of the larger world. We were talking upstairs, and how are we is sometimes a difficult question. We like to open with a broad acknowledgement of both things that are going on and our interconnection, and things that are going on are always difficult to name because they just keep mushrooming. But this is a time certainly of struggle and violence against many peoples. The Palestinian people continue to be brutalized by the decades-long American-funded genocide and colonial violence of Israeli apartheid. We stand with victims of genocide in Sudan and Congo, and with the indigenous peoples of this place, the Multnomah, Kathlamet, Clackamas, Tumwater, and Latwala Cascade bands of the Chinook, as well as the Tualatin and Kalapuya, and many other recognized and unrecognized indigenous nations of the Columbia River. And we invite you to join us in contributing in material ways toward the return of land and the thriving of indigenous peoples. And we have QR codes around with some links to ways to do that materially, and we do hope that you join us. We stand against anti-Blackness and recognize that police violence and white supremacist violence must be named and opposed. We stand with immigrants, against whom the state is carrying out acts of violence, imprisonment, and erasure. These forms of violence, along with transphobic violence being legislated across the United States, endanger the lives of trans, queer, and gender nonconforming and non-binary people. And as we begin our event, we want to say that none of us are free until all of us are free, and that anti-racist, liberationist, and anti-colonial struggles are intertwined. And we name these things in order to reach out to each other and to make good use of this time that we have together. We thank you for honoring our mask policy, which is masks down here, and masks are optional in the upstairs reading space. If you need a mask, they're at the entry. And we want to thank Lance Cleland and the McCormick Writing Center. There's Lance. Great, yes. Thank you, Lance. And Melissa Amstutz of Bishop and Wild, who both of these folks provide us with this space, which is amazing and really important. And there are lots of books here, and they are available to be purchased. I will make that point again later. But be thinking about it, and we also want to thank the Regional Arts and Culture Council, who has given us a grant for some of the readings this year. So without further ado, Junae is going to introduce Sara.
Hi everybody. I say this so often that this is such a bright spot in such a fucked up world. So thank you for being here and being together. Everybody who shows up to Constellation is always like the best person. It's such a sweet place. Welcome to our residents visiting here. We hope this reading feels really good. We literally say, like, you could just show up. We were talking about, like, you could just fart, like, slam poets, get up and bare their soul. And Victoria was like, it's like, you know, when you, like, fart on stage and nobody leaves and you're like, I'm saying it really wrong. I'm saying it really wrong. I had a moment where I was like, I'm saying the fart thing in front of a lot of people. It's about intimacy.
You can do anything.
Yeah. But basically, yeah,
And
you
now
can
we
do
know
it.
each other.
People will accept you and love you anyway. Even if they smell your farts. So welcome to this really sweet reading series. Thank you all for being here. Super excited to introduce Sara Jaffe. Yay! Sara is an author and a local organizer doing really cool things in the community, a local educator. Sara is the author of, most recently, of Hurricane Envy, a collection of short stories out on Rescue Press, which is over there available for sale, as well as the novel Dryland. She writes, teaches, edits, parents, and is trying to get back into playing music in Portland, Oregon. Please help me welcome Sara.
Hey everyone. I'm so happy to be here. It is such a rare and beautiful occurrence to show up for a reading, and not only is there like a space you can hang out that's not just like right in the thick of everything, but there's food, there's beverages, there's like people checking in to see what you need. It's really amazing. So I just like want to thank June and Jessica and Armin like so much. This is already such a beautiful experience. Thank you. I also, in addition to my books that are over on that table, I put two other things. One is a bookmark that you can take, and this bookmark has a link to a compilation that I put out alongside the collection. A lot of the stories in the collection engage with music in some way or another, and I invited 8 guitarists to write a piece in response to one of the stories, and the compilation is up on Bandcamp, so there's a little link to that. And then on the flip side is a sort of ongoing fundraiser that I'm doing for families in Gaza, and there's a little QR code for that too. And then the other thing, being crassly commercial for a moment, is I'm teaching a writing workshop in my backyard this summer. It's been something I've been doing for a while. It's really great. It's called Practice Space. It's welcoming. I haven't read aloud in a long time. I guess the one thing that I'll mention is that I refer repeatedly to places that are referred to only as P and B. Like if you can imagine like an old Russian novel or something where it's like P underscore or B underscore, that's the thing that it is. You might be able to very quickly figure out which places they refer to, and that is fine. The story is called Storm Chasers. In P, we had a huge yellow kitchen, a garden. The cat, who'd so wanted to, could go outside. The conversation sounded similar every time we had it. One of us would start with, "Do you miss B?" Or on milder days, "How are you feeling about P?" The garden had kale and cucumbers in it. The kitchen was the size of an apartment in B. These conversations between Celia and me were deeply self-interested. That is, they sprouted, whether we realized it or not at the time, from our own sense of insecurity. We asked the questions to ensnare each other into accidentally making a decisive gesture. I have an essay of feeling about it. I planned to pick the cucumbers from the garden and make pickles. Celia, more pragmatic, suggested after one of our conversations that we make lists. One list listed the bridges of P, another a list of rules so that every time we drove over any bridge, we had to make sure to notice the river and the other bridges. I made 9 jars of pickles. I plan to keep 2 and give away 7 to friends. I'm looking to define an emotional channel. To call any of these conversations arguments would be inaccurate because, 1, we often felt the same way, particularly about P versus B, and 2, we tended to wilt rather than argue, particularly when on the verge of arguing about P versus B. The cat meowed to go outside and meowed to come in. Though these conversations weren't arguments, there was, I'll admit, some pull and push, considering that I was the one who hadn't wanted to leave B, and who had, in fact, grown up in B, though in a surprising turn of events, I was now the one who was, if not thriving, at least succeeding in P, as if I were a type of plant well suited to its weather. Bugs attacked the kale in the garden. I washed off the bugs and cooked and ate it. The bridge rule offered extra points for looking at the river and the other bridges during sunrise or sunset, for not looking, or for looking but not noticing, particularly during sunrise or sunset. The rule assigned demerits. One night, the cat didn't come home. We put up flyers in the neighborhood. The cat came home the next day. As the cat sat and purred in my lap, a neighbor called and said, "I saw your cat." When Celia and I argued, it felt as if someone had taken the two coasts of me and yanked. I wrangled the lawnmower. I enjoyed it, Celia watching from the window. Demerits came too for online stalking of events in B. Big demerits would come for pricing plane tickets back to B or searching jobs or apartment listings in B, but neither Celia nor I would have admitted to doing that. Not that either of us were immune to worrying about whether we had made the right decision in moving from B to P. The difference was that on any given day, I tended to front-load my worrying and then discover that I'd emerged from worry into a surprisingly calm fortitude. Celia's worry snuck up on her and broke across her back like a wave, leaving her soaked and surprised. It's not, I know, but I'm saying it feels like an epic cleaving. I had a shed in the backyard to write in. I drove to work over the tallest bridge in P. To my left, the rust-colored bridge and the most industrial bridge, and between their beams and angles, the sunrise. We got wind of the impending storm in B a few days before it was to hit. We thought that, like most storms, the red flags raised were in inverse proportion to the damage the storm would actually cause. Driving across the rust-colored bridge, I noticed that the river was flat, gray, and reflective, and though the surface itself wasn't moving, it gave the sense of movement happening underneath the surface. If there was a thing I hated most about P, it was its easiness compared to B. P's easiness was, too, the thing about it that most contributed to my sense of calm fortitude. This feeling is an heirloom ring tossed in a terminal cleft. Sometimes the conversation between Celia and me would start, "Do we have any real friends here?" Our real friends were in B, but in P there were people who were, if not like our real friends, then like friends we could imagine having. Sometimes that imagining resulted in hangouts with our P friends that looked close enough to versions of good times we could have been having with our friends in B. Once or twice I said to Celia, "Let's have sex like we were in B," but that didn't really mean anything. Bugs attacked the kale again. This time there were too many to wash off and we had to pull up the bed. Nobody in B counted or named bridges, though everyone knew their names. I drove over the tallest bridge in P and felt with regret as deep as a river that I had not spent enough time walking or biking over B's bridges when I lived there, and that now the only way to think about B's bridges was to count them or to name them. The storm was expected in 2 days. I brought home 2 extra gallons of water. I hid them in the basement. I noted our stock of batteries in the refrigerator and mentioned offhandedly to Celia, "It's probably not a good idea to keep the batteries in the refrigerator if the power is going to go out." I desperately want a word for the feeling. It's so perverse. It felt better and worse and thus better to cheat and look online at the events and listings in B that I wasn't supposed to look at, and imagine that I, in fact, was the demerit jar, and each demerit a large cold pill I swallowed. Sometimes when we particularly missed B, we brought up the story of the microwave and our neighbor. Our neighbor, who we'd seen proselytizing and distributing pamphlets on the subway, had intercepted our microwave on our way down to the trash room. Then the earthquake in Haiti happened. The next time we saw our neighbor, she was so happy to see us. She was ecstatic to tell us that she had sent our heavy, short-corded microwave to Haiti as part of the relief effort. The storm was coming to B the next day. I went into the drawer to get a can opener for the cat food and discovered that where before there had been 2 can openers, there now were 3. In the basement, I found Celia taping windows. In P, it was so easy to get to work and to get home. I drove over the most industrial bridge, and I was all too aware, because of the windshield and windows of my car, of how beautiful it was outside. I tried to remember which was the worst, most punishable thing I could do. Look at but not notice the river and the other bridges, or the other way around. The manifold cupboards in our huge yellow kitchen were stocked with canned goods. Celia said, "How are you feeling about P?" I was looking at the weather on the internet. We checked and rechecked the computer on the radio. We flung cold batteries into flashlights. I said, "Do you miss B?" "Shh," Celia said. She was listening to the radio. This is the search for a word in the form of a story. The word I'm looking for encompasses both definitions of the verb to cleave. We pulled down the shades against the daylight. We texted our friends in B. We turned out the lights. When Celia wasn't looking, I unplugged the landline. Try naming all 10 bridges. Reports were coming in of mandatory evacuations in flood zones. Photos were showing downed trees. We could hear the wind. This is a search for a word for a feeling, and the feeling means loss, measured in water rising. How many demerits for hurricane envy? How many demerits for admitting the selfishness, the self-centeredness, the poor meanness of that construct, but refusing to denounce it, thus denying the story, that feather in its cap? We loaded and reloaded the flood zone map. They closed the tunnel minutes before the water rushed in. The cat meowed to go out. "No fucking way," we said. This isn't an allegory. This is actually looking out the window and expecting to see the fallen trees. This is feeling dazed and heartbroken to look out the window and not see the fallen trees. Sometimes after the wave of worry had hit Celia, she would say, "I never should have made you move here." And I would say, "You didn't make me." And she would insist that she had, as if by assigning blame, we could return to B and move on. We didn't have a TV. We had the same 10 internet photos that we kept scrolling through. The smashed boat was sadder every time. Once or twice I said to Celia, "Let's have sex like we were in B," and we went at each other like we didn't know each other, like we were coastal opposites tossed cosmically on the same shore, like we were perfect strangers. We were barricaded in blankets, our rain gear arranged around us. The cat purred on my lap. "Do you really think our neighbor sent the microwave to Haiti?" Celia asked. I said, "How could you even talk about Haiti?" The picture of the smashed boat again, house fronts torn off of what had been a neighborhood. The sky stayed dry, as if to spite us. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk more about this P.
Totally.
This Peoria.
Yeah. All its bridges. Victoria Newton Ford. Yes. Yes. Is a poet and essayist from Memphis, Tennessee. Her writing explores fungibility, violence, haunting, and intimacy. She has received support from Crosstown Arts, Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, Torch Literary Arts, McDowell, and more. Victoria is an inaugural 2024 Writing Freedom Fellow administered by Haymarket Books. She is currently working on her first manuscript and documentary, which examines slavery as an ever-present haunting in the lives of Black mothers and their children. Welcome, Victoria Newton Ford, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Give me 1 second. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Down. Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much. This is such a cute bookstore, and this is my first time in Portland, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm really excited to be here. Okay, so I just wanted to start with a lot of gratitude. I wanted to thank Bishop and Wild for this space, Constellation reading series, for having us gather, and I'm also just grateful to read with Sara and Kate today. And I also wanted to thank the McCormick Writing Center for this precious time. It's incredible to work on my first manuscript through this residency and fellowship, so I'm really excited. So thank you, Lance, for the time and your care and your generosity. And then lastly, I wanted to thank my partner for flying across the country. He has listened to all of these poems many times, and we've grown together, and thank you all for being here. So I have a little introduction that I wanted to read first, but I'll be reading 3 poems tonight, which have compelled my manuscript in progress and belong to a larger series of poems I've called Corrections. And since the 1990s, my mother has been the object of fascination in Memphis and the subject of local news reports and tabloids documenting her incarcerations, her battle with alcoholism, her relationship with my father, a former Tennessee state senator, and her death. I explore the archive of my mother's public punishment and in my experiences visiting her at Shelby County Jail East Women's Facility alongside the history of Shelby Farms, the park that connects my mother's life as a prisoner to the Neshoba plantation. The poetry I write engages with questions about the force of history's obscenities, captivity, sexual violence, and the spectacle of punishment and dishonor that subtends the lives of Black women. My hope is to offer a contribution that extends an argument about the present world and the hold of slavery, which you and I have been doomed to inherit. So I'll begin with words from my mother, Tamra. I wonder, do we really believe what we say, live, do? I don't think so. We behave as if a crisis does not exist. February 11th, 2010. Corrections. Mitchell Ford opts to remain in jail. WMC Action News 5, November 2nd, 2007. Months after she set the mansion on fire, in an interview, Lisa Lopez said, "But when they saw my face all messed up, they didn't talk about that the way they talked about the house." Online, I searched for it, wanting to spend time holding her reflected blush, eyes sodden with future, evidence. Her mugshot is popular merchandise now, for sale as a coffee cup, a sweatshirt, can be slept in. A bruise conditions her lip, tissue suspended in the present tense. She is wearing a cream dress, short sleeves faded in tulips or red hibiscus. What drinks skylight and grows, they didn't talk about that the way they talked about the house. The $1.3 million house, which had been consumed to certain dust, covered by insurance, property happened to jabbered about. The state archives who is allowed to be refused and how. In the articles about my mother's arrest, most journalists wrote, Mitchell Ford plowed her car into John Ford's Collierville home. Plowed. He wasn't even there. I remember her discussing this on the phone weeks before the court date, her laughter taking flight as she said it, suspended beyond me. He wasn't even fucking there. But they talked about his brand new garage, how right through my father's equity, she overturned part of the earth, as if my mother was impregnable to galvanized steel, as if her skin absorbed the leaves of glass. Did my mother even have a face? Could I purchase it from the publishing industries that own her mugshots now? I was in the car during the first incident. My father, who lives, says my mother was just mad over something he refuses to remember. She just wouldn't stop speeding until the car collided into a tree, the tree nipping a bit of flesh off my head, slicing through her right foot, the foot that gave her trouble for decades, little murmur of unarchived pain, where when we visited her at the women's facility once a week for over a year, she would keep hard candies, blueberry Jolly Ranchers, sour Now and Laters tucked in her shoe, beneath that difficult foot, hidden from the guards, until she would loosen them. These gifts I can still taste, loosening what she could choose, what she was willing to do again. I have an excerpt I wanted to read before the next two poems. So I've been doing a lot of research about this plantation that existed in the early 19th century as this abolitionist experiment that's on the same land that my mother was incarcerated. And so a lot of what I've been describing to my friends is like moving through time. But I've been scaffolding some of my readings with different excerpts from the archive of this plantation. So this is an excerpt about a profile on the founder of this plantation, Fanny Wright. And the book is Fanny Wright, Rebel in America by Celia Morris. As for separating parents and children, Fanny herself had survived the trauma. She had learned from New Harmony's failure that apart from a few like-minded friends, the new moral world had to begin with children. Fanny wrote a letter that summer that all the Neshoba children had been separated from the contamination of their parents, whom they see only in the presence of their directors and waiting only the arrival of Mr. Jennings from Philadelphia. Corrections. Mitchell Ford worried about the future of her children. WMC Action News 5, February 29th, 2008. Quick, like an edit made to a retelling. Children wait for their mother. And without modifying any verb or noun, this could simply be as tedious as longing. I remember longing one night, or every night I was held by an uncountable turning, depends on the retelling. Once and always, I was sitting on the staircase in the absence of light, my brother and sister taking turns to count the dust lingering above us, patrolling the front door. Not knowing what fell was probably dead skin or tiny living things surviving in disguise and hungry. Not knowing our mother wouldn't return for hours or days. Specificity makes all things kind and dependent. I could say 6, 7, 8-year-olds wait for their worried mother to come home from prison. Or I could say when you read about life on plantations, you notice the scandalous incident is never what happens to the slave. No, it's never what happens by the tree or in the field to the children flung inside the waters. The scandal configures itself in a scene of witness. If what happens to the slave happens in the presence of another master, usually the mistress, there's a problem. So witnessing violence becomes the issue. Now the slave must rectify through punishment. Even when the master chooses to tie the knot, to raise the hand, to look, even as the masters maintain dominion over the world, which is the violence that mothers violence. Look at me. What edit might we make now to this retelling? And my last poem, I like to do things out of order, but I wrote this poem 10 years ago, and it really serves for me as this incantation, protective spell, what have you, for the work that I've been doing. Because I think a lot of times when we talk about going into the archive is a really dangerous place to go into, especially when you are Black. And it's not unlike being out in the world. And so I think a lot about that, and not about kind of like holding the archive as some master form, but to critique it as that master form. Anyway, this is Elegy for Clitoris. Save water is one of the last things I said to my mother before she passed. She'd started to cry, but not for me. She'd started to cry, but neither of us knew she was dying. Her heart arranging its own petite famine that November. "Save water, please," I asked, referring to an old war between us. My mouth and the soft pink land it longed to drink versus a mother's instinct. "You're a dyke, aren't you?" I say instinct and not repulse because every day the world reminds me I am accountable for the stones I let cast inside my body. Instinct and not hatred in the last words she said, "You're dead to me," which I took to mean, you are my daughter. I made you my own brutal idea. I am trying to be responsible for somebody who is not responsible out of instinct. You did not know her, of course. You cannot consider the clots thickening in her thighs, her bitching at the farewell moon, the trouble hosting a wild concert on her face. You're dead to me, meaning I am lost. Come keep me company. Every alcoholic needs a dyke for a daughter, a bank to contain the waste of a hideous marriage. Before the flood, a levee rises to earn a bruise after flushing the vodka before warming the milk to feed the youngest child who cannot stand. This is inheritance. Learning there's little difference between a moan and a whimper for the Black girl holding herself away from herself. I translate "you're dead to me" to write a beautiful song. Bring a choir to the deep river. Of course, you might still read the word dead, but it is my responsibility to cast this stone. The water suckers my feet, and I am still alive. Thank you.
How can I even say anything after that? Besides, thank you. And keep going.
Yeah. I hope this time here
Is so magical for you, and you have space to grow that. Because that is incredible. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna take a collective breath. Special night. Thank you, Sara. It's always a treat to have fiction because we lean a little poetry heavy. Thanks to Jessica, because Jessica is like the queen of programming, and Jessica's poet. So that was fun. And we have one more reader. Kate Wisel, so happy you're here. Happy you get space away from your baby and being so brave for that. And your baby will survive. I got three, they're fine. I drop them on their heads and everything, they're fine. Kate Wisel, she, her, is the author of Driving Cars with Homeless Men, winner of the 2019 Drew Heinz Literature Prize, selected by Minjin Lee. Ask me later, I have a real sweet story about Jessica, about Minjin Lee. She also worked as a research assistant on the book Soulless, The Case Against Fuck You, R. Kelly.
yes.
She is a screenwriter in the Writers Guild East and lives in Milwaukee. Please help me welcome Kate.
don't want to go after that. I really, really don't. Sarah, that was amazing. Victoria. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Thanks, Lance. We joked that the McCormick writing residency was so good you'd leave your family. So we'll see if it's a joke by the end of this. I'm going to read a piece called 4 Ways to Handle Adrian's Relapse. Fight. In the car, coffee splashes down your wrist, so you rummage through Adrian's glove box for a napkin, then find his 90-day supply of Percocet. You're on the way to his brother's. We're looking forward to his wife's spaghetti. Now you ball the Duncan's napkin in your fist, your sleeves stained and soaked. You'll say, "Who the fuck are these?" Narrowing your eyes at Adrian, rattling the bottle by his ear as he drives, disaffected and dopey. Adrian will be like, "Babe, relax." You might say you promised you were done with pills. When Adrian has nothing to say, fume into the napkin like it's an oxygen mask, inhaling flakes of hardened jelly. "What's wrong with you?" you'll say, though it won't make him flinch. When Adrian's high, he's Adrian, but he's automated. Buckled into that It's a Small World ride where the animatronic dolls smile back, some evil man profiting off that technicolored sea of false nostalgia. Jerk the wheel. The car swerves scary close to a BMW as it blows its horn, and who cares? With Adrian driving, you'll both die anyway. "Cut it out," Adrian will say, but you can't. Empty the pills into your palm, then hurl them at the windshield. A symphony of snaring pops, like when a truck's tart whip strays pebble at the glass. It'll only make Adrian laugh because you're being such a cunt. Who gave you all this anger? Sometimes you fear what's wrong with Adrian might just be what's wrong with you. You never admit it, but on occasion, you get overserved, crossed into darkness, and, according to Adrian's morning report, morph into a monster with discount Chardonnay breath. Crying with your head between your knees because Adrian doesn't want to give you a family. Adrian claiming he never said that, a valid point, but all you know to do is ignore him and resume your raging. What do you even want? A new build in some treeless subdivision that reeks of 401ks and Jesus? Your last resort husband in a church boy button-down, palming your belly for the obligatory photo shoot? A plastic shine to your injected forehead, your eyes ringed with red-eye and terror? It's Adrian you want, after all, every time. 9th grade dropout with an impressive, restless IQ, running his business from his car, closet, and coffee table, counting 20s, cracking jokes, as fluent on his feet as a speed bag comic, immune to some sucker's lung-crushing 9 to 5, dodging consequences by the sheer force of his personality. When you first met, you couldn't get enough of all that anarchy, his crooked canines, his cocky disregard, the way he could talk to anyone except God, a skill you feel you're missing, so prone to long pauses, to losing your train of thought. Flight. In another life, you roll down the window and toss the bottle at the shoulder's guardrail, your heart hammer twitching, like when you try too hard to meditate. You thought you'd been reasonable, giving Adrian so much unsolicited head and freedom. Uppers you could tolerate. Adrian requires Adderall to reel in his ADHD vortexes, and who actually gets addicted to coke besides hillbillies and pricks on Wall Street. So stick your head out the window, feel the suicidal rush of the expressway, the white noise of cars cutting past. Think of all that velocity, how many times we could die, but we don't, switching lanes at top speed in machines made of metal and glass. With your tangled hair at the mercy of the wind, say, "Let me out at the speedway," and Adrian will be like, "What?" Your feet will hit the pavement before he comes to a full stop. Gasp sorry when you dash past the lady with the alopecia, big gulp, angel's wings chest tat. Consult the Chardonnay between the High Life and Gatorade. You don't recognize your reflection in the glass. How you could use the adrenaline Adrian puts in you if only you knew where you were going. If your mom wasn't dead, you'd call her and she'd pick you up no matter what. You talk till midnight in your childhood kitchen, divulging your fears, the limits of Adrian's character, how he sort of reminds you of Dad, how dumb your dreams are, you'll never have a family. She'd say, I'm your family, then tuck you into clean sheets, but you'd feel even worse, like her baby. So check into the travel lodge and smack at the glass until the Cheetos fall from the slot. Watch the ice melt in the bucket in front of the muted, psychotic news. All you want is someone to belong to, someone who belongs to you. So you backtrack, thinking, maybe I'm heartless, too exacting. Who do I think I am, some kind of prize? Try and fail to resist your phone, crushed by sleepless fits of loneliness. The impersonal hotel sheet will lighten an eerie violet, birds cawing their mysterious politics. At 10 a.m., you'll wake from a text from Adrian, come home. Fun. You could also just close the glove box and do that thing to Adrian's ear, looking at him like an indoctrinated teenager on a commune, the way the photographer captured at his brother's wedding. It's who you really are in the end, sick with love for Adrian. How this one time at Home Depot, some nerd stuttered an apology after bumping into Adrian, who had a slide of wood on his shoulder and breezed past, squawking, out of my way, in the voice of your favorite reality show lunatic. The nerd blushed, caught off guard, then started laughing. Without Adrian, who'd ripped through all the monotony just for fun. So forget the pills and apply for a credit card. Rip open the mail, activate it, then take Adrian to lunch, pushing it across the table inside the overt womb that is the Cheesecake Factory. At overpriced delis, purchase 3 pounds of short ribs for recipes that call for 1. Throw away leftovers. Crouch in the cake batter on Adrian's birthday, losing whole hours, wrapping what cannot be wrapped, the collector's item you ordered on a whim, a signed football. At times, as a kid, your mom would resort to serving bread and butter for dinner. Didn't stop her from shopping. Her killer eye trained on merchandise, scoring steals at Goodwill like used docks in mint condition. How she skidded, wheeled the cart into the next aisle like it was supermarket sweep. Anything to make you happy. The more you look in the mirror, the more you see her, tense and overzealous, your frantic eye contact the equivalent of a question. So pay for a room at a masculine hotel whose stained glass greenhouse has been transported from a European children's hospital. In a room that resembles a first-class parlor suite on the Titanic, chew Adrian's mushrooms till it's 4 a.m., till the two of you are just one hydraulic heart with a set of flapping lungs. Your sex like the choreography of a Missy Elliott video. With your ass in the air, your lips will be over here on Saturn, and your hand will be over there on Jupiter. You'll think, how am I doing so much at once? Come fall, you'll be chopping a mountain of apples for a last-minute pie as Adrian emerges from the bedroom, his face drained of health. Smile in heavy makeup, feeling like a pill is stuck in your throat. Adrian will say it's the flu, so knock over-the-counter medicines into the cart. Name brands, store brands, Kleenex, Mentos, 6 kinds of tea, an accordion stretch of scratch-offs. In the winter, a snowboard. In the spring, tickets to Davitel. And when he comes home late, you'll say, did you have fun? You'll say sorry when he misses the trash and he chucks a bottle cap past your head. And by summer, when he cuts himself on a grinder in the overgrown backyard, you'll buy him Band-Aids of every size and shape, as well as clear ones that look like giant patches in case he wants to look at his wound. Freeze. If you'd had a real dad, he'd have taught you to swallow your fear when the bear comes. He'd have told you not to run, to back away slowly in the opposite direction, your escape route. But what if you can't register a threat? What if you know the bear and have been scared so many times that there's nothing left to protect? So do what you do, pretend the bear's not there, remaining perfectly still, letting it root around your tent as you play dead. Put the bottle back where you found it, unfinding it, a covert Percocet on your tongue. There's a war going on inside you, but you look just like a stroke victim. And if you're being perfectly honest, you spilled that coffee for a reason. That glove compartment was asking you to open it. The feeling like turning around when you sense someone behind you. That's how you knew Adrian was on pills again. You warned him you'd leave him if he relapsed, but when it happens, just like you knew it would, you feel no pain. So let Adrian drive the drive he always drives to his brothers, all the mid-century ranches, their dark, peaceful hedges, reminiscent of the 70s, of a time when a man could kill a woman and get away with it. No DNA or technical traces, and still, the world seemed safer. Adrian will pull into his brother's, a life-size Monopoly house with its overhanging eaves, its facades of natural stone. You'll cross the driveway littered with crushed pastel chalk, and the garage is dark with sneakers and rain boots. The kitchen warm from the stovetop and commotion. Adrian's niece crashing into him, her smile a Hitler juice mustache. She'll hang on to Adrian's leg as he wades towards his sister-in-law, kissing her cheek while she stirs the spaghetti sauce. Adrian's brother behind her, a coffee mug to his chest, time freezing as Adrian beams, tossing his niece into the air. Help with the bread basket, line the placemat, sit down to eat. Above the table, 10 feet high, a pale, despondent balloon clings to the skylight. From the skylight, the balloon seems to survey Adrian's girlfriend. To the balloon, she looks diminutive, her voice tinny, like a whisper. Take the bowl when Adrian passes it. Spoon out the sauce, it'll taste like poison. Shut up and eat the spaghetti. Thank you.
Dang. I feel weird. That was amazing. Whole night. Wow. Sarah's books are on the table along with some additional items, and we were not able to get Victoria's books, but there's a QR code where you can order them, which I'm going to be doing like right now. And there are books all around, and we can sell them to you. Hang out, say hello to the writers. We have a lot of food upstairs, and please come help us eat it if you're up for it. We're here the second Thursday of every month except July, so we will be back in August. We hope to see you then. Thank you so much for being a part of this amazing evening.